Good morning. We are talking today on the importance of handwriting. This is something I want all of us to contemplate. Keep pondering upon it. Steiner says this is our handwriting is not merely an act of communication, but an act of incarnation. He talks about a lot of developmental incarnations, developmental milestones, where this human body upon birth is trying to get rooted on this planet Earth, trying to establish ourselves, trying to feel that identity in myself, feel that I am also a contributing member of this community. Things like that, where that I ness in the human being is getting established through every act of milestone they achieve. The minute a child will flip over, the minute they sit up, the minute they crawl, they stand up, these are all developmental incarnations or milestones. So, handwriting is one of them. It cannot be discarded as something that I need to write because the school is asking me to write, or because the exams are pen and paper exams. That is the ultimate application of the handwriting. But the fundamentals of why one should use their limbs to communicate, writing is a form of communication, right? If you look at how writing came into picture, the history of it, initially it was just sounds, and then people started articulating different kinds of sounds to mean different things, and then human beings started agrarian based. They settled down by water bodies and started doing their own farming, and then they had to communicate something for their next generation, whatever. They started etching some things on rocks and stuff, and eventually, slowly all these formations evolved and writing came into picture. And right now, children generally do not like writing at all. Somewhere they have bad memories associated with it. So, and it's a good reason. I mean, even adults, typically when we are sitting in a meeting and I suddenly blurt out and say, "Can I read what you have written?" Like the notes that people have been taking, they kind of hesitate. "Oh, you may not understand my handwriting. My handwriting is not that great." They're worried about the spelling errors. So many things. So we don't carry like a great feeling about our own handwriting because somewhere there is a wrong association with it. So we need to start looking at it for myself first, before I can help any child. When I write, how does my fingers move? What is that will force that is coming into my fingers to form a certain letter? In Waldorf schools, they just don't teach the letters. They create an image of possible letter, like M for mountains. They start drawing the mountains in the air with their hands, then they draw it with chalk pieces on the board. They just draw the mountains, and from mountains emerges this form called M. So, but mainstream schools, we don't do all of that. What we could do as parents, as teachers, is at least not follow those copywriting books. Where typical copywriting books, what I see is, let's say for letter M only, it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, for maybe one line, for maybe 10 lines in one page. That's about it. That's the practice. But that is not enough for a child. The child begins to scribble with great enthusiasm when they are like 1.5, 2 year olds. They want to grab every writing piece and scribble. And that is when we need to allow them. I, as an adult, must sit with them and start doing those forms forever. Draw that letter M, the spikes going up and down, for over entire newspaper, the over the slate, again and again and again, until maybe you associate that with a story, and the story has a mountain. So that movement becomes meaningful. It is not just doing that assignment in the workbook. It's somehow when I'm drawing with that meaningful image, or eventually, not in the beginning, it takes a lot of time. Then when I'm drawing a mountain, and let's say we go for a drive and we are looking out and I see a mountain, and I try to see literally, I mean, there, and I come back into the house and I'm drawing, the quality with which I draw will be different. The feeling associated with writing will be different. So the hand engages definitely a body part. Then what's happening as my idea, whatever I have observed, and the feeling associated with it. So there is head, heart, and hands all integrated in simple drawing of a form, which is purposeful, which has some meaning. So when I write, I mean, after I came to know about this, I've paying attention to my writing. When I write, I just write it directly from the head. There is a sentence coming in there because I need to communicate something, set a reminder for myself, take notes or whatever, and I just write it. There is no feeling in there. Maybe there is a feeling in the way I communicate the entire paragraph. That I want to communicate to you all that tomorrow is going to be a holiday. Then I put some thought into saying, and maybe reread that sentence saying, do I mean that tomorrow is going to be a holiday, or am I just saying holiday, or something like that, where I assess for the meaning that will be communicated rather than meaning going into each formation. And of course, you cannot go into each formation every time. When I write beautiful, if I developed this association in the child, the beautiful butterfly, beautiful. And when I had this for together, for some reason, I think one of my teachers told it, I'm not sure. She said to get the spelling right, to get her. That's how she kind of divided. And the way I remember together is, whenever we all got together in my family, we used to play this tag. Someone would like chase you to catch you, touch you. So you became the it, and you started chasing the other person. So to get her was the meaning for together, where I every time remembered the families coming together during holidays. And that was the meaning for me. And every time I write together, I always, even now, I'll just say to get her, and that scene comes into my mind, and together goes on. So initially, it may have been maybe I am giving this credit to my teacher, because I don't remember my parents teaching me at home. So when she said it, maybe she said it a few times in the class. Maybe she had completely different expectation. Maybe she just wanted us to write the spelling right. But the way I interpreted and associated was completely different. So writing together was a joyous act because it brought good memories in me. So it's not just writing for communication. Like how Steiner says, it's a developmental act of incarnation. So something in me is getting born every time I'm writing something. So keep look at handwriting from that perspective and see the importance of it. We have a lot of handwriting classes. How do I make my handwriting beautiful? All that is great. But am I even enjoying writing? It doesn't have to be like calligraphy. It doesn't have to be continuous writing. It doesn't have to be anything, but every form that I'm writing, does it come with a meaning? Somewhere It's like the whole consciousness, the presence, the awareness, the this moment, I'm trapping it in what I write. And of course, handwriting has many different applications. One of the best ones is what graphologists use. They use in forensic medicine, crime detection, analyze my handwriting and kind of know my personality, which is which when I write unconsciously. I mean, they also say handwriting is brain writing. Your hand is just an instrument, a tool. So whatever thoughts you're getting, your motor nerves are being directed to move your hand in a certain way. But all of those are fine, and let them be the way they are. I'm looking at more the rhythm, the form that we give each letter, each word. So my act of writing is bringing me joy, and is done with a purpose, is presented. you know I read about Sir M. Visvesvaraya. He wrote, he took time to handwrite reply to all of his fans who wrote him messages. Not only that, he imprinted every letter with a purpose. I mean, that's why I guess their letters are in the museums now, preserved and carry meaning. But for our sake, what can we do is understand the their handwriting brings in the head, the heart, and the hands together. So this is helping me as an individual writing train my thinking, and writing is concretizing my thoughts. So I need to not scribble away anything that I want. It is like my living experience coming into writing, not something abstract. And now when I do it with the technology, um, the 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 app will correct the spellings for me. It will correct the grammar for me. I'm just relaying my thoughts, and it's conveyed. Somewhere my hand or the will is not used. I was at a session yesterday, and this was the doctors forum, and the professor there was sharing that medical students turn in pages and pages of report generated by AI. Yeah, beautiful looking reports. And I always wondered, when I did my B.Ed 14 years ago, they made it mandatory to handwrite two sets of the lesson plan books. And we had done two subjects. So four books we had to handwrite, and two would be exactly same copy. And I was so annoyed because I could just type and save the time. And of course, the professors couldn't explain to me why it had to be handwriting. They said that's how the rule is, you got to do it. But now I kind of realize it. When you are sitting down to write it, it develops so many other skills than just writing. Your posture, your patience, your ability to write for an extended time, be consistent with the handwriting. Many things come into picture, and that is what I think they were trying to bring in, especially in the teachers, at least for the B.Ed training. And AI, the present generation, going fast, all that is great. We can accomplish way too many things in way too short time. And many of us maybe can cope, but those of us who cannot cope, especially the young children, that is the time when we have to build resilience in them, their ability to face the fast moving world. That comes from solid grounding, and handwriting is one of them. It's like active reconstruction. It is not just passive consumption. I like something that you're telling, I quickly dictate it to my app. It types in whatever, and I send it across. It's like 30-second job. And the same thing, if I had to handwrite and send, it becomes a 3-hour job. but the effect it carries would be different. The effect it makes within me is going to be different, because writing is going to draw that inner forces within me. These days, the research says, especially with children who are with the screens early on, some of their brain connections are not even developed. And maybe that's a need for evolution. Some organs become redundant and we don't need to use, and in consequent evolutions and generations, it will be dropped out or reduced to minimal, like appendix that we have. It doesn't have any use, but it is staying there. Eventually, it will probably disappear as well. Something like that may also happen. It's generational, it's evolution, and let that be there. But if I'm suffering now, if something is not working for me, then it is time for me to ask, do I want to stop a little, take pause, and develop the joy in writing and incarnate all my organs properly? Or do I just want to ignore it and just go along with the flow? That choice is obviously ours, but generally, it knowing that handwriting supports understanding, deep cognition, because somewhere it externalizes my thought. Many a times if I have to remember some things, I need to write it out, right? The way I write it out may have changed, but then there is a need for that. So it's like it just becomes an awareness. When I'm writing, it just becomes, if I have to write properly, initially it's a conscious effort, but then it becomes a habit, you know. But initially, it definitely needs that sustained effort and sensitivity to movements. How to hold the pencil, how to what kind of pressure to put, what angle should the book be, how I should be sitting in what posture, etc., etc. That has to be there. That's when people, even like Gandhiji promoted handwriting, the best handwriting, and now things have drastically changed with AI. But I also have an option, at least for children who are growing up right now. Maybe not for me as much, but definitely for children. And if I don't do, children don't do it because they don't have a role model. So ponder upon it, think about it, and see what best do you want to do for your kids. Good luck.